What are some of the things that you learn from like the children at that young age? You know what I'm saying? Like the babies just being babies. You know what I'm saying? Some of the things that you kind of like drawn up or gotten from them.
Like what I was saying, like 6 years old and younger, that's the formative years, because you're literally forming the brain architecture of a human being. And all children have different experiences in that short period of time that they've been on the planet. So one of the things that I learned is, even what I was just saying, you have to meet people where they are. So for example, I got one student in my class, and this dude is mad sophisticated. Like he's been exposed to a lot of stuff already.
How old is he?
He's only culture years old.
Culture years old.
You know, but it may be another student in my classroom that's power years old, but they are completely oblivious to the stuff that he's been exposed to and what he know about. So for example, in my class, I have a section where I have like uniforms and costumes where they can basically play with each other. And one person may put on a doctor's uniform, somebody else may put on like a mail carrier's uniform, police officer, things like that, right? The boy that I'm talking about, he put on the policeman uniform, and he walking over to one of the other students like, yeah, I'm about to arrest you, you about to go to jail, and you ain't got money for bail neither. How he know something like that? You know what I'm saying?
You had a video about that, right?
Yeah.
You put a short video about that, right?
Yeah.
I know that.
So in reality, these are just adults in little bodies. That's what they are. And they're learning to use this form, so it's not really us being physically born at a certain time. So when we say we have no set birth record, we older than the sun, moon, and stars, we're really consciousness incarnated in this form. So seeing children at this age, you can literally see them starting to use this form. So some of the things that they're starting to develop are their gross motor skills. Balance, you know, how to use their physical body. Also fine motor skills, just picking stuff up. Some children are, for the first time, are learning how to use their hand. You know, so I teach them stuff like that. You know, how to use these, because this is the first time they're using this form. Some are a little bit more developed in how to use it. Others are not as developed, and you have to work with them maybe individually to get to that degree where they're supposed to be at developmentally. Or if you have a student like the one I'm talking about who's more sophisticated, you use him and say, yo, add on with them right there. I want you to be the leader and show them this. You know what I'm saying? So even though, and this dude got a reckless mouth too. You know what I'm saying? He be saying stuff that's inappropriate sometimes, and look dead at me like I'm looking at him like, dude, we both not adults. You know what I'm saying?
We both not adults.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like he's saying certain stuff around the other students to try to plant an idea or stick a pin in their head. He don't be doing it that way. He'll say something, for example, I teach them mindfulness and how to regulate their behavior, and I use the Incredible Hawk. Right? Because I teach them, if you want to be able to control your emotions and your anger, you have to be able to control your heart rate. So we exercise every morning, right? And then we'll finish exercising, we sit, and I teach them breathing exercises. Slow your heart rate down, relax. And then I show them, when the hawk doesn't do this, look what happens. And I show them. You know what I'm saying? When you're not able to regulate your behavior. This dude look at the hawk and be like, yo, why he got titties though? You know what I'm saying?
Trying to be close cut.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So one of the things that I learned also is working with children at this age, you can see behaviors and attitudes in their infancy because they're just developing now. And one of the things I also learned is you have adults that had behaviors in their infancy that have gone along their life cycle and have never been checked about that shit. They still tantruming just like a 4-year-old.
They grew with them.
You know what I'm saying? Like no one redirected them or checked them at all. You know what I'm saying? One of the other things is a lot of our children that grow up in communities where it's a chronic scarcity of resources, where they don't have access to certain things. There's been studies that have shown that children growing up in these environments hear at least 30 million less words than children that grow up in privileged communities. because those communities have more resources and these children have more exposure to a lot of life experiences at that age. You know what I'm saying? So knowing that as well, you have to talk to children.
You expose them to a lot of words.
Exactly. Exposing them to a lot of words, because like I said, you are literally constructing their brain architecture. We're brain architects. You know what I'm saying? And me knowing that, I make sure that I'm very deliberate about what I expose them to. One of the things that I do too is I expose them to culture through cuisine. Everybody eats. You know, we look at our Jews, food, clothing, and shelter. Those Jews are something that's universal for all people, regardless of what they call themselves. You know, and those Jews are a perfect segue into exposing people to principles and values. So for example, some of my children, they may have never tried certain fruits before. So I bring in certain fruits, let them try it, and get their opinions about it. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? You know? Yeah, because those fruits are oftentimes connected to certain cultures or certain geographic locations. So if they're physically not able to travel into certain places, you have to encourage them to travel in the mind by exposing them to different type of things.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you know, like I said, that's part of my resolve in terms of addressing some of the bullshit that I see. I'm gonna be with these children, because if they're making mistakes just through natural life experience, then to me it's more manageable than dealing with my own peers or people that's older that's making the same damn mistakes even though they've been on the planet 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Because you oftentimes ask why, like, yo, how have you not learned this? You know what I'm saying? And that can be much more frustrating and discouraging as opposed to working with the youth. So if that was the father's perspective, I definitely understand that, why he invested more time in the younger generation. You know, that might have been his sense of sanity, and that was his sanctuary too, because that's my sanity and my sanctuary. I'd rather deal with the youth all day, every day.
If Mecca did this.